Oh, welcome. Welcome. Hi, Lena. Hi, Kim. Welcome. Hi, Brenda. Sandra and Jeanette.
Hi,
Welcome.
Tiffany. Hi, everyone.
So good to see
Hello.
you. Hello,
Hi.
hello. Hi, Lisa. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, everyone feel free to unmute and say hello. Get your voice in the room. Say hello in any language you'd like.
Okay. 你好.
Salam, salam. Salam, salam.
I hear Messeret and I hear Miss Cabana as well.
Xin
Laila.
chào,
Miss
xin chào.
Camilla.
I'll just say hello.
Yeah, no pressure. Well, we are expecting quite a few people today, but we'll go ahead and get started with a welcome question to you. And you can use the chat or you can come off mute. But we'd like to know what brings you here today. And for this topic of culturally responsive teaching, what made you want to come to today's workshop? You can use the chat or you can unmute and share with us.
I'm a slow typist, so
Okay.
my name is Jeanette Korzak. I'm a volunteer with the New Neighbors Interfaith Alliance. I've been tutoring and teaching predominantly Afghan students for the past 3 years. And we run into some issues that are probably cultural that I'm hoping to learn how to deal with better.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing. And I see from Lena here in the chat, learn new things. Aaron, welcome, Aaron. Aaron says, learning more about how to incorporate culturally sensitive practices into my teaching. Thank you. Feel free to continue to share. Oh, that pops in. I'm teaching women from a culture I have never experienced before. Great. So thank you all for sharing. Feel free to continue to share. We'll keep an eye of those in the chat, and I'll go ahead and get us rolling for today. Welcome to Activating the 7 Principles of Culturally Responsive Teaching. My name is Tiffany Ross. I'm the manager of Network Learning and Development for McHale. And for those of you who are new to McHale, we stand for the Montgomery Coalition for Adult English Literacy. And we are the hub for adult ESOL in our county. And as an adult ESOL professional, as part of the 60 plus programs in the county, you too are a part of the coalition. So to learn more about the work that McHale does, feel free to visit us at mchale.org. I'll drop that website in the chat for you momentarily. So today's workshop is an interactive workshop. We'll be utilizing the chat as you have already warmed up, so thank you for that. And we'll also be utilizing breakout rooms, so please be prepared to engage with us today. We invite everyone to put on your cameras, but we understand you may not be comfortable. You may be eating lunch, you may be on the road, so if you're not able to, that's fine. But if you are able, we'd love to see you. That just supports with building trust, comfort, and community. And there was an optional worksheet that was shared with you today via email. I will also drop that link for you momentarily in the chat. And so you can use that worksheet to support you throughout our discussion, our learning, and our exploration today. Today's session is being recorded and will be posted on the McHale YouTube channel. And you will have access, yes, you will have access to the presentation following today's workshop. So with that, I'd like to introduce Mark Beachy. Mark Beachy, let me spotlight you, Mark, for a second, or could you wave so everyone can see you? There he is. Mark holds a bachelor's in Asian Studies with a certificate in Chinese language and a master's in TESOL, both from UMBC. He has been a faculty member at UMBC's English Language Institute. And he currently serves as my partner at MDT Sol as a member of the board as the Adult Education Chair-elect. And next year, he will be the Adult Education Special Interest Section Chair. And previously, he is a professional actor, award-winning playwright and composer, and drama teacher. brings that creativity into the classroom by presenting engaging, educational, and culturally responsive lessons. With that, I'm happy to pass it over to you, Mark. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for that introduction, Tiffany, and thank you very much for inviting me today. Thank you for taking the time to join us in this fantastic workshop, interactive workshop on activating the 7 principles of culturally responsive teaching. So I'm going to go ahead and get my slides ready. Okay. So let me begin by talking about how we can teach across differences, and more specifically, quality teaching across differences. So let me begin by asking everyone, what are some of the differences students bring to your classroom? Feel free to write it in the chat or just unmute your mic. We're just going to talk about what are some of the differences that you've noticed with your students. Oh yes, good one. Different learning styles, different language backgrounds, education backgrounds, different experiences. Absolutely. Each one of our students brings their own experiences, ages, different motivations. Yeah, why are they learning English? I'm getting lots of fantastic responses. Different religions, perspectives. Interesting. Different ways of interpreting information. I like that. I like that. Financial means, cultural behaviors, levels, living situations. Wow, everyone's doing a great job with that. So let me continue to the next slide. So we talked about some of these examples. We have the culture, race, religion, family background, sexual orientation, their age, gender, and learning styles. So that's just an introduction that I want you to begin thinking about what are the differences that our students bring, just for you to be self-aware. Let's begin by talking about the definition of cultural competence. And with this, I like to say that differences make a difference in teaching students. So let's take a look at the definition. The will and the ability to form authentic and effective relationships across our differences. Yes, it's about building the relationships with the students so they trust us and are ready to learn. So, what does it mean to have an authentic and effective relationship between the teacher and the students? What does that mean? You can unmute your mic or put some of your thoughts in the chat. Safe space, trust and respect each other. Trust the teacher. This is a good start. So here, I'm definitely going to be helping you with this today. So if you don't know how to answer that, that's okay. I'm going to help you with that. So authentic, in this case, the definition of cultural competence means that our students trust that we are being real. Okay, being real, authentic, that we're not acting. It's true I have an acting background, but we don't want the students to ever have the impression that we're not genuine. They'll spot that really quick. And then effective. So in the definition means that our relationships are working, that our students are learning, that the doorway to the house of success is being opened to them. All right, so now let's take a look at the definition of culturally responsive teaching. I'm going to read this from Geneva Gay, who is one of the pioneers, if not the pioneer, for culturally responsive teaching. And she defines culturally responsive teaching as using the cultural knowledge, prior experiences, frames of reference, and performance styles of ethnically diverse students to make learning encounters more relevant to and effective for students. So let me ask, what words or phrase stands out for you? What words or phrase stands out for you? Feel free to write it in the chat or unmute. Okay, so we have relevant. So you want to have relevant material, something that's relevant for your student. Cultural knowledge. Yes, I heard a couple of you are interested in learning how can you learn more about their background. Performance styles or learning styles, and the prior experience and learning encounters. True. So how are they learning English in Saudi Arabia? How are they learning English in China? And then how are they learning English here in the United States? Okay. Frames of reference. Okay. Could you care to elaborate that about the frames of reference?
I was just interested in learning like more about like frames of reference, like where people come from, like where they're at currently in their educational journey.
Okay.
Just
Where are they currently? Okay. All right. So here's another way to think about culturally responsive teaching by Gary Howard. There is no work more complex than culturally responsive teaching, and yet there is no work more important. And so that's why we are here today, because we really know that this is important. But why? We have 5 reasons culturally responsive teaching matters. Can I have a volunteer to read the list for us out loud? I don't mind reading it. I just wanted to see if anybody else would like a chance to read.
Sorry,
All right.
I didn't do the video and not the sound. So I'll go ahead and read. You want me to do all 5?
Yeah, please do all 5.
Okay. So 5 reasons culturally responsive teaching matters. 1, CRT allows you to try and understand everyone's challenges, not just your own. CRT understands that relationships precede learning. CRT stresses the importance of racial and cultural diversity in learning. CRT also highlights the importance and acknowledgement of differences. CRT is student-centered and focuses on students' cultural identities and strengths, which are identified and nurtured in the encouragement of their achievements and well-being.
Excellent job. Excellent. Thank you so much for helping us out today. And here is another definition from Gary Howard. He defines CRT as teaching and leading in such a way that more of our students across more of their differences achieve at a higher level and engage at a deeper level more of the time without giving up who they are. So that last part is key, without giving up who they are. And what he means by that is that they are allowed to bring in their cultural difference. They are allowed to bring in their sexual orientation, that we're not here to change who they are. And with that, let's go right into the 7 principles for culturally responsive teaching. Now, in your packet, you do have this graphic, so there's no need to memorize anything. Just follow along with me. So principle number 1, students are affirmed in their cultural connections. What does that mean? So students get it, that we get them. Students get it, that we get them. So for diverse students to be successful in the classroom, the educator must recognize who they are as individuals. The students want to be seen. They want to be heard with who they are. And this can mean their gender, their age group, their ability, learning style, religion, culture, background, immigrant status, sexual orientation. And so here we get to know the student. So how often do you have students in the classroom where all you know is their name? Well, we want to go beyond knowing their name. We want to know who they are. So here we have 3 types of teachers. Which one are you? We have teachers who are afraid of the students, don't like them, and wish they weren't there in the classroom. Second type, teachers who work hard at acting as though they understand and like the students, but aren't actually comfortable around them. And then last, we have number 3, teachers who are genuinely comfortable around the students. The students get to be themselves in a culture-safe classroom. So very important there. We want to try to be like the third teacher. And the key words there I want to highlight: genuine, that you're genuine, that you want to make the students feel welcome. So in summary, be the teacher who embraces culture, understands differences, and accepts the students. When the students enter your classroom, they feel honored, recognized, and seen in their cultural connections. Now, principle number 2, it really does connect with number 1, but let me explain some of the differences. So students get it that we like them. We teach because we like to be around the students in our diverse classroom. And I'm going to give you a pro tip on how to do this, a little trick that you can use in the classroom. So be conscious of your tone of voice. Is your voice soft and engaging and welcoming? Not every teacher I've heard has that voice. Some teachers have this stern voice. Sit down, shut up. That's not making the students feel safe and welcome with that tone of voice. So here, again, you probably don't have that kind of voice, but I just want you to be self-aware and think about the tone of your voice. Now, what are some ways you can make the students feel welcome? So when I was teaching high school, they were all newcomers, didn't know very much English. And so I still wanted to make them feel welcome. And so one little trick to do, just do a fist bump as they enter the classroom. That shows that they're welcome and that you want them to be there. You want them to enter the house of learning, the school, the classroom. Now here, I'm going to share a short story about my second grade teacher and how I did not feel welcome and liked. I didn't feel liked. So the teacher had a very stern sounding voice, and she would just rub me the wrong way. And one day I said to the teacher, "I don't like you." And so yeah, I said, "I don't like you." So obviously I was not feeling liked by the teacher. And her response, I'll never forget it. She said, "I like you, Mark." And that just, changed my life, my view on the teacher. I'm like, "You like me? You like me? Really?" And so that changed my attitude in the learning. And this is what it's all about, that the student has to be ready to learn. And with that, they need these things, these reassurances that they're liked. All right. So to summarize principle 2, through our tone of voice, our sharing of our personal lives and invitational approach in the classroom, we create a culture of caring and positive personal regard. So what are you doing that gives the students the feeling of a personally and culturally inviting classroom? So let me ask that to everyone here. What are you doing that gives the students the feeling of a personally and culturally inviting classroom? I would love to hear your ideas.
Okay, I will go. So usually at the beginning of my class, I would take and see who comes to the class, take the role. But I usually would ask them to take 1 or 2 minutes and say, how's their week going? And they have to think about one fun thing they did over the week. And I'll tell them one thing I did fine over the week.
I love that idea. So things don't have to be complicated. You just have to let the students know that, hey, I care about you. What are you doing in your life outside of the classroom? And that definitely makes them feel recognized as a student, recognized as a person, and valued, and that you care. And once the teacher shows that they care, like you're doing in your example very well, that they're open to learning, no matter what topic it is, whether it's English or whatever you happen to be teaching. So thank you very much. And let me see if there's any other comments. We recognize every holiday. Absolutely. Recognize all the holidays. Share humorous personal life events from time to time. I say hello and welcome them by name. I'm happy to see you. I'm happy you are here. That's right. So a lot of these things you're already doing. And so bravo, bravo. And we have a story here. First day of class, I asked them to fill out a one-page slide to introduce themselves. And I ask what their favorite song is. Then I make this is so to my heart. Wow. And I ask them, I make a YouTube playlist with their favorite music and then play it during intermission in class. For me, I have it playing when they're entering the class. But yes, wow, we're totally on the same page with that. I love it. I love it. All right. So here, we're already on to principle number 3. Learning environment is culturally and personally inviting. So here, I like to say that the school looks and feels like me. Let me dive a little bit deeper. So this is what the students see or hear when they enter the classroom or the school. So here we have the music that they're interested in. So you're not playing music that you're interested in. So I'm not playing Frank Sinatra music as students walk in. Okay, unless they're interested in that. But no, I'm playing music from their home country or music they're interested in, whether it's Michael Jackson or Madonna or musicians that I've never heard of that are from their home country. Okay, so we have the example music videos playing on the screen that represents the diversity of the classroom. That's an awesome idea if you can do that. And then number 2, have a sign that reads, "Everyone is welcome here." As simple as that. And I'm going to go to the next slide here. Believe it or not, this sign is controversial. Can you believe that this sign is controversial? Let me explain. So this is from NBC News, just from March 15th. So just this time from last month. And I'll go ahead and read the article quickly. So an Idaho teacher is in a standoff with her own school district after officials ordered her to remove classroom signs, including one that reads, "Everyone is welcome here." And so Sarah a 6th grade history teacher at Lewis and Clark Middle, says she won't comply with the order, arguing that the message is a fundamental part to ensuring a positive learning environment for her students. And she's taught for 5 years and says her commitment to inclusivity isn't about politics, it's about her passion for education and students. So who knew that a sign as simple as that is controversial? Yeah. All right. So in summary, for principle number 3, the multicultural images on the wall, the textures and colors, the sounds and other sensory inputs communicate to students as well as parents that this space belongs to all of us. So what do students see or hear when they enter your classroom? We already have the example of the YouTube videos. Would anyone else like to share any ideas of something that you have as your students enter the classroom? Maybe you have a poster on the wall. The smile, absolutely. A smile goes a long way. Some people don't smile. There are people out there, they don't smile and they have the stern voice. And if you're like that, I just hope you become self-aware to try to change that, because that's one of the most important things you can do as a teacher is to smile and be welcoming, and that puts the students at ease. Because again, with these first 3 principles, we are trying to make the students be ready to learn what you're trying to teach. And if you have the students feeling uncomfortable and not safe, then that's going to be very hard to do. Okay. All right. So here, to summarize principles 1 through 3, Gary Howard refers to the first 3 principles as the front porch of learning, because not all students are ready to enter happily into the house of learning, the school, especially those who have been most marginalized. So this front porch is a welcoming place wherein students feel seen and affirmed, and from which they can more willingly and successfully engage in the culture of schooling. All right, so now it's time for a discussion within your groups. And here I want you to think about, how do you activate principles 1 through 3 in your teaching? So some of you are probably already applying 80% of what I'm talking about, and this is just affirmation. Or you can think about, how could I activate principles 1 through 3? And I have a reminder on there on what they are. So do I have Tiffany here? Can put everyone in their breakout groups.
Sure, we'll absolutely do that. I'll also share again in the chat. Here's a link to the worksheet. So you can use that worksheet to support you as you're in your discussion groups, thinking about how I can activate these principles in the classroom. So you'll have about 10 minutes in your breakout groups. You'll be with groups of 3, and I will project these questions into the room for you so you don't have to memorize them. Okay. So please hold for one moment. People are pros at breakout rooms now. Okay, let me pause this.
And they expect it.
All
Okay.
back.
We're all back. Okay. How were the discussions? What did you learn?
Well, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, I was glad to join in, of course, and I enjoyed listening to the person who was leading. I joined in a bit late, so excuse me if I can't pull up names. But I could relate to what she was saying about how these students need encouragement, not to feel uncomfortable because they they're having difficulty. And I notice that is very important because I've been in that situation from their perspective. And you don't want to make a mistake. So I do, as was suggested in our group, to encourage them to think not of making mistakes. We all are learning. That's a good point, I think.
Absolutely, a very good point you make. That all of us make mistakes. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. And with that, you want to make the students feel safe.
Right.
Make them feel safe to make those mistakes. Otherwise, you're not going to learn. And of course, teachers make mistakes as well. And so, great. Thank you for sharing. Would anybody else like to share to the whole group? Okay.
In our group
I'm
is the
Sabine.
I'm sorry. The common subject we all find out is that the find one subject at the beginning of the class and allow students to speak up comfortably, and then that subject has to be relevant to everyone so that they might have a different opinions, but they also know what we are talking about. So they're comfortable enough to talk about. And then plus, I personally, I took this ESL class when I came to this country for the first time. So I know what they feel like. They're very nervous and then they don't want to, make a mistake, or especially it's very hard to communicate. English is not good enough. So that moment actually allowed them to be more comfortable to speak out.
Absolutely. Being comfortable to speak out. And the other key word that you used, relevant. If it's not relevant, then they're not going to care. And then you're not learning anything. So thank you for sharing. And I believe we had somebody else that wanted to speak as well.
Sabine.
Sabine, please go ahead.
Yeah. Good. Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry I joined you very late, so I go just to resume when I I learned this today. I appreciate the class, how to make student confident at the beginning of the class. Yeah, you trying to keep the audience. It's very important to make everything good to start the class, and you know where your topic of the day, where you are going to teaching, because it's my first time to take the class. I'm a student in One Stone English Center. I would like to trying to become the co-teacher. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. This is what's so great about these workshops is that we understand a lot of these things that you're going through, and we can help each other. That's what teachers need to do these days. Is we need to all help each other succeed, so we can make sure that the students succeed. So thank you very much for sharing. Okay, I'll give one last chance for anybody else. If not, we'll move on to principles 4 through 7. Okay, let me quickly summarize. Principles 1 through 3 focuses on making students feel welcomed into the school environment so they can more willingly and successfully be ready to learn. So this is why instructional strategies are not enough. So when teaching across differences, it is important for instructors to connect with students, especially those experiencing achievement gap issues, equity issues, and social justice issues. And all of this is important because we need the students to be ready to learn. With that, I'm ready to move to principles 4 through 7. So now that students are ready to learn, we can now turn our attention to principles 4 through 7. And like I said, it focuses on instructional strategies and academics. So let's get right down to it. Principle 4, students are reinforced for academic development. Now, very often in schools, teachers are looking to catch students being bad or to catch students doing something wrong. So here, I encourage you to take the positive approach and catch students being smart. That's a much better approach. So the heart of this principle is a genuine and clearly communicated belief in the intelligence of our students. So if the teachers aren't believing in the students, then the students aren't going to believe in themselves. So this is definitely a confidence issue here, that we want to give the students confidence. So example number 1, a student wins a game of Kahoot. The teacher gives the student a prize and says, "Congratulations." So little things like that can boost their confidence and that they can feel successful. And if you're not familiar with Kahoot, I definitely encourage you to do that because at least my adult students love that game. Example 2, and these are all real examples from my teaching life. So a student helps the teacher fix his computer issue. And the teacher acknowledged that the student was not only smart, but helpful. Okay, so this is going beyond the books I'm reading here and what I'm teaching, that I feel it's important to not only make the students feel smart, but good people. We want these students uh, to develop their good behaviors and for them to be good people. And so I would add to it that you want to acknowledge if they're being helpful or some other positive aspect with their personality. All right, so in summary, students must see themselves as learners with high potential for academic success and give students confidence by encouraging them. And again, to repeat myself, I would argue that teachers should not only catch students being smart, they should also catch students being helpful or whatever that quality might be. Maybe a student was comforting another student if their pet died. So catch them being smart or catch them being good people instead of the typical idea of a teacher, which is, aha, I caught you being late. Aha, I caught you cheating on that test. Aha, I caught you for whatever it is. Here, let's catch them for doing things that are positive. And when you catch them for doing things in a positive way, that's just going to encourage them to do the positive behavior. Principle number 5, adjust instructional strategies to accommodate students. Here, the colloquial phrase I like to use is learning to sing harmony to our students' music. So using differentiation, instructors accommodate the different learning styles of each student. Okay, a couple of you at the beginning mentioned about the different learning styles. We all learn differently. So if we can go back to principle number 1, this also includes the cultural styles, the age group, and the pop culture. So let me talk for a minute about the curriculum, very important to teaching. So the curriculum sources and content are an essential component of culturally responsive pedagogy. Both the content and the curriculum sources should be analyzed to ensure accurate presentations of ethnic and cultural diversity. Okay. All right, and I will explain here. Again, I'm going to talk about a real life story of something that I experienced. So I was asked to observe a teacher, as I'm sure we all have, that we were asked to observe a teacher whether it's for a class you're taking or you just want to see what good skills can I pick up from that teacher. So here I was observing a white female instructor that was teaching a class on female scientists. But here the problem was that in the syllabus, all the scientists were white, female, and that didn't represent the students in the class. And so they couldn't connect to it as much. And interestingly, one of the students spoke up. So an African American student said to the teacher, you know, can you please add an African American scientist to the group? And I have one that I would like to learn about. And the teacher's response, it may surprise you, she said, it is not a part of the curriculum that I have planned. And so we will stick with the curriculum. Yikes. Yikes. True story. And so, of course, that student was very concerned and disappointed because this student wanted to learn the content but couldn't relate as well. And she even spoke up to the teacher. And that's one thing to keep in mind, that not all students are able, have that confidence to speak up. So keep that in mind, that you'll have to read a student's body language as well. So be aware when you're looking in the classroom of body language, because not everyone is brave enough to speak up. Or maybe they're 3 or 4 years old. And so I just want you to be aware that just because a student doesn't say anything doesn't mean that things are going well. Okay, so in summary, for principle number 5, this entails an authentic acknowledgement of the essential differences our students bring to the classroom, not only their race and ethnicity, but especially their cultural modes of interaction and optimal ways of learning. Okay, believe it or not, we are already on principle number 6. So, classroom is managed with firm, consistent, and loving control. So here, the old-fashioned way is thinking that the students need to respect you first, and then you'll respect them. Here, we do the opposites, okay? That respect begins with the teacher, okay? And this really brings in all those first 3 principles. It's about showing respect to the student. So you shouldn't worry about, oh, are they respecting me? No, let's not make this about you. Let's make this about you showing respect to them. So you're modeling, okay? You're modeling how to be respectful. And there's a good chance that they'll respect you back. So discipline, this is about discipline in the classroom. So the principle calls for an exquisite balance of toughness, fairness, and love. So here's the key. Here is the key. If teachers are activating the first 5 principles effectively, then principle 6 is not much of an issue. So think about that. You can make your life a lot easier if you follow these first principles. And so classroom management is rather easy. Easier. I'm not going to say it's not challenging. All right. All right. So let's think about examples. Do you have any examples or tips you would like to share on how you manage your classroom? I believe this would be a popular topic. So if any of you have any examples or tips on how to manage a classroom, please share with the group, whether it's in the just typing or just go ahead and unmute your microphone.
Mark, this is Justine.
Yes,
I'm listening and I'm really loving what I'm hearing. But I must say, much of it seems to be sort of a different, well, I think I'm teaching maybe what others aren't. I don't even call it teaching. I don't know if that's appropriate in my case, because these folks come to my class in a very basic level. They, I just try very hard to reach down into that level of knowing absolutely nothing. I've been there, so I know how uncomfortable it is. And I just try to be very personal. And for instance, to get them acquainted or my acquaintance with them to solidify and vice versa. Also with the other students, because they come from different countries. And so I ask them where they come from and to sort of share. Once I ask them, I'm trying to teach them just to speak English. I don't know if that helps you in what you're presenting, especially in these three issues. But it helps me to share that with you because maybe you can tell me how to do that better.
Okay, so yes, thank you for sharing. And so yes, what we're trying to teach here is that the students have to be ready to learn. So everyone here, what you're saying is every teacher is in a different situation. Some students come here just completely ready to learn. What we're working on from the first three principles is getting them ready to learn. And so now we're talking about different ways that we can teach them to make sure that they are learning the material as best as possible. So let me see what else we have in the chat. Respecting the student's time. Okay, so very important. Having the list of guidelines, outlining the expectations. Excellent idea. And then someone has simple classroom rules with words and pictures. Excellent. I like the idea of the pictures. Asking for feedback and advice from the students. Very important that we want to get feedback from the students. Don't just try to guess. It's great to just ask, what can I give you as a teacher to help you? These are all fantastic suggestions that everyone is already doing. Thank you so much. So in summary, for Principle 6, discipline is instructive and not aiming at punishment. So very often teachers discipline to punish. Here, we want it to be more instructional. Again, the idea of making the students feel safe in the classroom. So for many of our students, their respect for us comes only when they have experienced our genuine respect for them. And so we focus on classroom management across the differences. Okay, so now we have made it to principle number 7. Principle number 7. So interaction, stress, collectivity, as well as individuality. So we're mixing it up in the classroom is what I like to say. And we did that today. So we're having group instruction. We're having instruction to the entire class right now, but then we also broke into our small groups. And so, as we like to acknowledge that people learn in different ways, sometimes everybody, and then sometimes with maybe just a partner or two. So we are doing our instructional strategies in such a way that we honor individuality and the collectivity of our students. So one thing you have to understand is that some students come from a culture where they work together. Okay, so like some of the Asian cultures, like China, they like to work together. And then we have some where it's just as a class. And so you have to understand the student's background. Here's where this understanding the student's background helps in understanding how they would like to learn. And so it's best to, as a teacher, offer those two different styles where you're teaching as a whole class, or maybe they're working with just a partner. And you'll be surprised with how a student can change when they're working with just a person. They become a teacher themselves and they become enthusiastic. So make sure you're giving your students those two types of opportunities in the classroom. And so here we call this student-centered learning. And we think about group work versus working alone. So finally, let me talk about when culturally responsive teaching goes wrong. So in all these books and classes I've taken on culturally responsive teaching, everything always goes right. Everything always goes perfectly. But I'm here to tell you, things don't always go perfectly. So don't be afraid to make mistakes like I did. And I will share that story with you now. So I developed this project where I felt it was very culturally responsive on having them make a poster that was about their homeland. Okay, so for example, the person's from China, so they will do a poster about China, or they are from El Salvador and they will do a poster project teaching us about El Salvador. So that is a fantastic culturally responsive project. But here's where it went wrong. We were in the computer lab and all the students were researching their topic, but I saw one student in the corner. They were like this, they were all shuffled up and they looked very sad. And my first instinct was, wow, they're not working. All the other students are working. So my first instinct was, okay, I'm upset that they're not working. So I go over there and say, why aren't you working on your poster project? And let me help you. Let me help you. And I said to them, okay, this country, oh, they're known for coffee. They're known for coffee. You can talk about that. That's a positive thing. And they're like, no, 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 I don't want to. And or talk about their flag. You're like, our country can't even agree what the flag is. And I was beginning to realize that this student was suffering from trauma from their homeland. So in a project where I was trying to create something where they could be proud of their country and teach the other students about it, this was causing trauma. It was bringing back the memories of their country and how they experienced trauma. And so I began to feel really bad that, oh my goodness, this student doesn't have the same experience that I had growing up in the United States, where I have lots of positive things to talk about. And so that is key, that not all students grow up in a positive environment from their home country. So in a project that was designed to be culturally responsive and positive, it was causing a bad effect. So I did think on my feet. As you know, as teachers, you have to be flexible. Be flexible. Many teachers could have been like, "This is the project that I created, and it must be done this way. So you had better find positive things about your home country." Okay. Instead, I was thinking in a level-headed manner, and I immediately thought of an alternative project. Give students an alternative project. And so I said, okay, so you're not interested in talking about your home country, and thank you for telling me that brings up trauma for you. Um, let's think of an alternative country for you to talk about. Is there a country that you would like to learn about and for the poster project? And they said, yes, I love the United States. Can I do my poster on the United States? And I said, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And so the lesson learned here is that, again, be aware of a student's body language, because sometimes they aren't able to express themselves through the words in English. So body language becomes key. And don't be so arrogant as to think that you look at a student and you're thinking, oh, they're being lazy. They're trying to rebel against my project. No, there could be a deeper issue, like I found out. And be prepared to give an alternative project. So the lesson is be flexible, be aware of their body language, and be prepared to have an alternative project that they can do. So they're still learning. They're still learning, but it's not going to have cause them to bring back memories of trauma that they may have had from their home country. Okay.
Can I add something, Mark, to that?
Please.
Because I studied a little bit about cultural responsive teaching when I was doing my master's, and one of the things that I think we often forget is that our students are not only their home countries and their past lives, that they are also living in the present, and they are living in the USA, and they have lives here, and they have futures, and they have goals. And so part of cultural, responsive teaching is also in including those futures and their goals in our teaching, not just their past. And on a note, uh, just a note on I've had students tell me they didn't want to share what country they were from because of global political politics. Like, for example, I had a student who was from Taiwan and I had a student from China. They did not like each other. And so I had a student from Russia who didn't want people to know that she was from Russia at the beginning of the semester when, the Russia and Ukraine war started. So I think, just asking indirect questions many times for things can be beneficial, so they get chances to share what they want to share. Um, and then also just, keeping in mind that our students are not just their home countries, and that, when we run into situations like they did flee their country for a reason sometimes. So like what you mentioned with trauma, that we can, start, like the student said, can I talk about America, or can I talk about the USA? That is part of their culture now. And so to have them explore that and what their goals are is also, a connection they can make with themselves.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for sharing that insight here. That this is not going to be perfect in our delivery of trying to be culturally responsive teachers. That we have to be aware of each and every one of our students, thinking way beyond what their name is, and being aware of their body language and their needs. Okay, thank you very much. Um, so let me summarize principle number 7. We learn together and we learn alone can be a guiding principle for this principle. So students from collectivist cultures can learn to function in the more individualistic climate of dominant institutions and students with more competitive and individualistic proclivities can learn to collaborate and contribute in cooperative activities. Again, student-centered learning. And here we have finished the 7 principles for culturally responsive teaching. But now let's dive a little bit deeper. Let's dive a little bit deeper and let's have a small group discussion on how do you activate principles 4 through 7 in your teaching? And if you're not, how could you? What are some ways that you can activate this in your own teaching? So let's go ahead and get to our breakout rooms, and then we'll come back and wrap things up.
So I am creating breakout rooms. For those of you who joined a little bit later, there's a link in the chat to today's worksheet. So I believe principles 4 through 7 can be found on the second or third page of the worksheet. So you can use that to jot down these ideas. And just a friendly remember, the chat has so many great ideas and suggestions for activating these 7 principles. So please visit that chat and capture some of those ideas that you could use in your classroom. Or tutoring sessions. So I am opening the rooms. Please join your breakout rooms and we'll project these discussion questions into the breakouts.
Okay. Hello, I guess we have everybody back. So hopefully you had some very good discussions where you learned a couple tips from other teachers, or at the very least got to share your experiences so your voice can be heard. So I have a couple of final words. So from the outside, these 7 principles may appear to be merely a description of good teaching. But at a deeper level, however, these 7 aspects of culturally responsive teaching challenges us to examine our pedagogy through the lens of differences that our students bring into our classroom. So the bottom line is teacher behaviors, attitudes, instructional strategies, and relationships approach is designed to connect with the diverse students of the classrooms of today. So with that, thank you very much for your participation today. We definitely all learned a lot. I'm learning from you as you're learning from me. And of course, we're learning from each other on how to be culturally responsive teachers. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you. I appreciate.
I hear some thank yous. Thank you
Good
so much,
moment.
Mark. You
Thank
can all
you so
join
much.
me with, oh, we've got some background noise going on. You can all join me in a round of applause or some symbol of gratitude to Mark. You can send some thumbs ups up there, whatever. Thank you so much, Mark, for taking the time to be with us today and to share. I know that all of us had something that we could take away from that workshop. One thing that's sticking to me with me that I wrote down is just because a student doesn't say anything doesn't mean everything is going well. And I thought that was a really great reminder to hold on to get curious, ask questions, pay attention to body language, reflect on our own work. There are a lot of thank yous in the chat for you there, Mark. As you can see, I dropped a link to a survey. If you could take 3 minutes to complete that survey, we really value your feedback. It helps shape Mikhail's professional development. It'll also support Mark as he continues to share culturally responsive teaching with other educators. Also, we're happy to share that in a couple of weeks, we will have a informal follow-up coaching call with Mark. Thank you, Mark, for being willing to do so. So I'll send you out information for that. So we invite you over the next couple of weeks to apply some of what you learned. Think about what principles you could try some new strategies or techniques around, where your strengths are and areas for growth for you. So we invite you to take these next couple of weeks, try out some of what you've learned, and join us for our follow-up call where you can ask Mark follow-up questions, speak with each other about what you're trying or what you may need a little more support around. And as always, we'll send you the follow-up email with presentation link, the link to the video on Mikhail, YouTube, as well as an invitation to join us in the circle. How many people here are on the McHale Circle? A couple, great. So this is the space for you. It's created for you to ask questions, to engage, to gain resources with and from other adult ESOL educators in our county. So I'll send you all that information within 24 hours in a follow-up email. With that, I just thank you for your time and your dedication to the learners in our community, for continuing to show up, continuing to learn and grow yourselves. And I invite you to unmute and say so long. Thank you.